Board of Trustees of Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District is now convened in a committee of the whole meeting on Thursday, January 18, 2018, in the boardroom of the Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District Instructional Support Center, 10300 Jones Road, Houston, Texas, at 6 p.m. for the purpose of reviewing that portion of the Monday, January 22nd, 2018 school board agenda designated as action items and to hear designated reports and recognitions posted in the meeting notice as required by Texas law. No action will be taken at this meeting. I want to welcome the members of our audience and our television viewers to this meeting of the Board of Trustees. As the Cypress-Fairbanks Board of Trustees, we are here to set goals, listen to reports, approve budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and make policy for the district. It is not the role of the board to make day-to-day operational decisions. The management and day-to-day operations of the district are the responsibility of the superintendent. We have policies and procedures in place to resolve concerns and issues. This is a public meeting of the Board of Trustees. Prior to this meeting, board members received information related to items on tonight's agenda. Agenda items will not necessarily be handled in the order listed on the notice. The meeting is open to all who wish to attend and hear the matters discussed. During the course of this meeting, the board may determine that a closed session is necessary. In that event, the board will meet in closed session to consider matters duly posted for this meeting as permitted by sections 551.071 through 551.084 of the Texas Government Code. These proceedings are airing live on CFTV Channel 16 and CFTV online on the district website. They will also be rebroadcast throughout the month on Channel 16 and available as video on demand on the website. For the tape to adequately reflect the proceedings, I respectfully ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking and that all cell phones are turned off or in silent mode. Thank you for taking the time to join us this evening and for your interest in the Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District. I'd like to also take this opportunity to recognize our Community Leadership Committee members who are in attendance this evening and our AVP students and our Boy Scouts. And we have one Boy Scout, Matthew Chuck, from Troop 1014. Would you stand, Matthew? So glad to have you with us tonight. And we have Julie Heineman here tonight. And with her, we have visitors from the Leadership ISD, a program with fellows and alumni in Dallas, Tarrant, and Harris counties. Leadership ISD advances educational excellence and equity by informing leaders to shape policy, lead strategically, and champion change. Their vision is a Texas where public education offers opportunity and hope to all children. Would you stand, Julie, and your guests? We're so glad to have you tonight. The board will now hear the following reports. Under 4A, the administration will provide a report on the board monitoring system, and that will be done on Monday. 4B, the administration will provide an oral report on marketing and business relations. That also will be done on Monday. And For tonight, we will hear 4C. The administration will provide a report on the final design and construction progress of the remediation work for Moore Elementary resulting from Hurricane Harvey. And our presenter is Dylan Brady. Dylan.
Thank you, President Ogletree. Dr. Henry, members of the board, excited to be here tonight to give you an update of where we're at with the repairs and renovation pieces for Moore Elementary following Hurricane Harvey. First, I'd like to introduce and thank Patricia for being here and being so awesome to work with through this endeavor that unplanned but exciting nonetheless, as well as Tony Castillo and Stephen Johnson, who are project coordinator and project manager for the district, overseeing it, and then Dan Gross, who's the director of design for the district, who will speak here shortly, along with Todd Lean with VOK Architects, who's doing the design. Real quick, one thing to note before I turn it over to Dan is we had a successful public hearing this morning or this afternoon at 2:30 with the City of Houston, which was replatting the Moore Elementary School site. Some may have seen the sign out front if you've been there or heard about it. What it was when we built the northeast drive that leaves the site, and Todd Lean will show you a picture of it as we present. That piece of property was a quick claim deed that developer gave to the district to build that driveway. What we did in order to permit the project and bring that site into being one piece, we went to the city and just replatted it, so now it's all one piece underneath the name of Cypher. Didn't change any usage or any variances. It was more just a formality, but just in case that came up to anybody or if you get questions, that's what that is. With that, turn it over to Dan Gross to kind of give you a history and where we are today, and then on to Todd to where we're going. So thank you.
Thank you, Dylan. President Ogletree, trustees, Dr. Henry, associate superintendents, pleasure to be here tonight to give you an update on Moore Elementary. I'm sure everybody remembers it like it was yesterday, but can you believe it was 4.5 months ago when Harvey came through and devastated our area? Obviously, it was unprecedented residential commercial devastation that actually many are still feeling to this day. There are many out there that still haven't fixed things up the way they need to, like they were. Cypher is no exception, especially with Moore Elementary. Everybody is aware, but Moore Elementary was impacted by every square foot, every space in the building, and every building system was impacted, basically rendering the campus useless, and it could no longer function as an educational facility. At that time, we were very blessed in the sense that New Matsky opened on Mills, leaving a vacancy and a place for Moore to find a new home temporarily. So with an outpouring of support, Moore Elementary was set up on Jones Road very, very quickly. Here this evening, we're here to provide update on status of design development as well as a construction update. As we move through the presentation, we hope the design efforts are familiar to you. A lot of what we've planned and done within Moore Elementary is reminiscent of what was done with the major renovations for Adam Elementary, with exception of the classroom additions. Parrish thought that the event ever occurs again, flooding at the campus or hurricane in our area, but we have taken measures in the design, hopefully to help alleviate that in the future. Some of those things Mr. Lean will go into detail during the design presentation include rainwater, stormwater detention, lowering one of the parking lots to help hold water on the site, raising window sills to help water from coming into the building. And one thing that's common with this floor plan is a internal atrium to the building, which constantly is a maintenance issue with rain events. So we will be infilling that to help alleviate that issue in the future. As was mentioned, with us tonight is VOK Architects, and they will go into status of remediation, facility design improvements, and construction moving forward. So being the architect of record for Adam Elementary, VOK Architects was a great fit for this campus, so we hope it will be as successful as Adam Elementary. Thank you very much. I'd like to introduce Todd Lean.
Hey, Todd, before you begin, could we check that microphone there? I'm not sure is it working? Can y'all hear it all right?
Can you hear
Just
me all right?
Okay, that's better.
All right. President Ogletree, members of the board, Dr. Henry, thank you again for the opportunity to do another project for Cypher ISD. Regardless of the circumstances, we're happy to present to you tonight the work that we've done at Moore. First, I want to thank the members of the administration, the staff, facilities department, and maintenance and operations that helped us go through all the work and to work through the design that we're going to present for you tonight. So, just there we go. As Dan said, I want to walk through a little bit of the timeline. In October, we put together a set of documents out to bid that took care of the remediation portion of the project to start building back that portion that was devastated, or at least a portion of that portion of the building that was devastated. We put that out to bid, and in end of November, notice to proceed was issued to the contractor, Satterfield Ponticus, and they began the process of building back, restoring, and cleaning, and doing everything that's going to need to done to get the building back in place. I'll go into a little bit more of that scope here shortly. The second phase of that project, which we have put out to bid, we will be receiving bids on January 26th for that additional portion, which includes some additions and some other work and some other bond scope that was part of that. With an anticipated notice to proceed in February, then the 13th, and the final substantial completion to be early July so that they can get the kids back in for the fall semester. Again, what I talked about, the first phase is essentially the remediation scope to get it back and running. Second phase is the bond scope that was identified, some additions and renovations and things like that. And I'll go through those in detail when we get to those floor plans. So if we look at the existing site plan on Lakewood Forest Drive, the area that Dylan discussed, the replatting, is the area that is just this drive that's on the very north end there. So that's that area that Dylan was referring to for the replatting to make it all one site. This plan shows the dividing line between Phase 1 and Phase 2. All the classrooms on the left-hand side are those areas that we began construction on in November. The contractor is hard at work rebuilding some of those things, cleaning all the ductwork, doing other things that have to be done for that. The major portion of Phase 1 includes the renovation and build back of all the classroom walls, new finishes, meaning paint, floor finishes, ceilings, light fixtures, new power and data, as well as the AV connections for all the classrooms. We're going to replace all the casework, new marker boards, tack boards, and then as Dan mentioned, also the exterior windows had glass going all the way to the floor. We're raising those up about 3.5 feet, putting a brick wall below those just to kind of help any mitigation. It also helps for maintenance of not breaking windows when you're mowing lawns and things like that. So it's a good practice. Restoration of the gymnasium that was also flooded. At the library, it'll be a new reception desk or a circulation desk, as well as casework around there. Standard case through all the classrooms, similar to that which we did at Adam Elementary School. Then the restrooms will be completely gutted with new fixtures and new chase walls. And then the HVAC scope will include replacing all the insulation in those systems, as well as cleaning of all the ductwork and everything to make sure it's all safe for the students to come back. Part of Phase 2, if we start outside, it really starts with that mitigation and the accommodation of any future flood water. That begins with the area identified in number 1, which will be a new detention pond on the north side of the site that will help gather and hold some of that water in the event of another storm. Also, the additions of some additional parking and is a little bit more drive to help with traffic patterns throughout the campus. We're also, in those areas that are denoted with number 7, we're actually lowering that area, those parking lots, to create even a little bit more detention area as before it goes into the storm system and into that detention pond to help with that, those areas of when we get a heavy rain. The other areas noted with the number 5s are those areas that are shaded and will be additions to the building, as well as enclosing of the atrium that is existing. We have a new entry canopy that's at the front door. Also some work at the portable buildings to repair the foundations of those portable buildings. Existing playgrounds will be addressed as well. So that's essentially the work that's occurring outside to help with any additional floods. Phase 2 on the inside of the building, it involves additions that are outlined in those areas in red. At the front, we're extending the front entry and creating a nice entry lobby that will incorporate a secure vestibule to the district standards. And then also taking over some of the classroom spaces that are on the left side of that entry to accommodate some more of the administrative suite, renovate the existing older administrative area into some classrooms, diagnostician's office, assistant principal's office. In the center where the 2 blue classrooms are, that is the area of the old atrium that we're filling in to create some teaching space there. We're also doing an addition at the back side of to the side of the stage to allow handicap access to that stage. And then we're doing some a complete renovation of the kitchen, as well as an addition to the kitchen for cooler freezer, and as well as some storage areas in that kitchen. On the exterior of the building, we're providing a new front with the addition of an entry canopy that will allow for keeping the rain off the kids when they're dropped off. Also provides a nice new front to the building. It'll provide we're having a clear story at the entry that'll allow light down into that entryway to create a nice new entry. And then also you can see where we've raised the windowsill at the bottom of the tall windows there to create brick at the bottom of those. And then we're also, to help with identification of the campus and everything, we're moving the normal signage for Moore Elementary will be moved down to the end of the building so that it lines up with the front entry drive. So when you drive up, you'll see the Moore Elementary mascot as well as the name of the school. These are a few representative images. The one on the left of the new entry under the canopies going up to the front door, and then a view in the new secure vestibule where they'll enter into the vestibule, be forced to go into the administrative suite to be checked in before they're allowed to enter into the rest of the campus. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. And do any members of the board have any questions? Don?
Is there, looking at the pictures, this is the same footprint as Adam, wasn't it?
Correct.
Were y'all able to make some of the change? Adam's awesome, by the way. My kids went there, and then to see what y'all did afterwards, it's amazing. Are we able to make some of those changes like you did at Adam?
We used that as kind of the basis to begin with. There was a little bit different programs and things at Moore, but Adam was used as the base to create most of those changes, yes.
That's awesome. Great.
Tom?
Good presentation, thank you. I also appreciate the fact that it appears you aggressively went after trying to look, can we stop the flooding from happening again?
Right.
A couple of follow-up questions similar to what I've asked in the past. It may not be in your bailiwick, it may go over to Roy. Have we finished our testing, and are we satisfied that there is no bacterial infection in the remaining brickwork on the inside?
The answer is yes. At each stage, before we've moved on to the next stage, we have had EFI Global, as well as the contractor has hired theirs. So we've had 2 different independent firms testing air quality inside the ductwork, checking the brick that became saturated, as well as any sort of contaminants that may be on the floors or elsewhere. So each of those pieces we've actually identified and taken numerous samples at each stage before we move on to cover up or do any sort of build back. And we'll continue doing that all the way through the end, and before the final turnover, we'll have get a clean bill of health, if you will, for the facility.
Excellent. The safety of our students and staff, of course, is paramount. I believe you've already addressed it, but I want to ask the question to hammer home the point. From a flooding perspective, have we addressed all of the, what I will call the alley theater anomalies that we can find? For the viewing audience, the alley theater flooded badly, even though they had taken steps to remediate potential flooding because the water came in through an outflow air pipe because of a reverse flow. So as architects, have you scoured the building to make certain that any of these anomalies where you might have reverse flow have been addressed in some fashion?
Yeah, we've worked closely with our engineers, primarily the civil engineer, to identify any of those things. And with the measures put in place of the detention pond, as well as the lowering of the parking, they feel like in a major rain event, they feel like they've addressed all those. Obviously, designing for another hurricane is something that's above and beyond, but they feel like they have addressed all those other issues.
A follow-up question on the detention pond, and we saw this throughout from Cypress all the way over to Katy, where you had detention ponds. Do we have any the detention pond areas that you have created, and I like the idea, is meant to serve the campus area? Do we have any concern that it will wind up serving the area outside the campus area and in fact pull in more water than we would anticipate?
In the discussions with the civil engineers, they have to kind of address all of that in their plans, and they've submitted those to the county as well. So I feel like they're addressing those concerns, and they have to take care of what's on their site that they're looking at. But they also looked at the drainage for the entire neighborhood and used that information to develop the plans that they did. Because that was one of the things they pointed out, is they studied how the whole entire neighborhood drains, and that's how they developed their plan to address it.
Thank you for addressing not only the question I asked, but as Stuart would say, the question that I didn't ask. It has been in the news and all over the newsprint, as well as television news, that often developments do not take into account the greater drainage. So thank you for addressing that. This question may be for Roy. Since we made changes, complete physical changes to the building, have we changed the capacity? I remember years ago, as part of the cost containment, when the district had to reduce costs some 20%, that one of the techniques was to enhance, with a waiver, the capacity on a per square footage basis. So are we keeping our old capacity numbers, or are we going to the new capacity numbers?
Based on the final design that we have right now, we're staying with the existing capacity. So when we did add them, we had funds available as part of the bond program to expand that campus and adjust the size of classrooms. Because of the timeline and the fact that this is insurance, we are doing the bond work that was in 2014, but that did not include an addition at the Moore campus. So it'll basically be the same capacity. We're not adding additional space other than what you heard in the presentation for that ADA ramp for the stage area, as well as the food service area.
Next question, are we incorporating the new kitchen design standards that enhance people flow? Are we keeping the older kitchen approach, which is not as transparent, and where the people flow is is not as enhanced as what we have at the new schools.
No, it will incorporate the new ideas and the new plans for more transparency. You mean between the cafeteria and the kitchen?
Correct.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Once again, a good presentation.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I have one or two. On the foundation repair on this project, is this due, the repair, was it something that existed prior to
The foundation repair that we identified was that at the portable buildings, and it's really just the superstructure underneath those portables to make sure that those are safe when the kids return.
Okay.
It's some of the blocking in that underneath those.
Thank you. Great report. Looking forward to more opening. Now move to the next section of our agenda. On Monday, we will have a public hearing. And so we'll go to, and that is 5A. The board will hold a public hearing to discuss the 2016-2017 annual report describing the educational performance of the district and of each campus in the district. And so we'll be happy to receive that on Monday. We'll now go to the action items portion of our agenda. And we will review and discuss these following action items. Item 6A, the board will consider approving tax refunds of $500 or greater for Cypress-Fairbanks ISD. And these are the consensus items on our action items agenda.
And Dr. Ogletree,
Yes.
may I interrupt, sir? Thank you. On 6A, I noticed that there is a trustee's name listed as a recipient of a tax refund.
Is it yours?
It is
All
mine.
right, thank you.
And as a matter of transparency, one, it needs to be identified. Any payments to trustees obviously have to be identified. I had an additional exemption to apply for, and I applied for it timely within the law, but after the tax bills had gone out and being dutiful, I paid my taxes to the school district, which meant I overpaid my taxes. And so I am properly due a refund. I wish it were more, but I think the tax calculations are accurate. So on this matter, I will recuse myself, but to permit me to vote on other items, I would ask that you set this aside as a separate item, so I could be permitted to vote on the other consensus items. Thank you, sir.
And if you want to be very generous to the district, you could just tender that excess, Tom.
You know, I could be, but I'm not.
Okay. All right. We will move that. Item 6B, the board will consider approving the minutes of the December 7, 2017 special call meeting. And item 6C, the board will consider approving the minutes of the December 11, 2017 regular meeting. Okay, that'll remain on consensus. Our next portion of our agenda, action items, which are non-consensus. Item 7A, the board will consider awarding bids and contracts and/or authorizing the purchase orders as recommended in the posted agenda item. These are 1, emergency generator repair service and preventative maintenance. 2, portable building removal and relocation. 3, portable building tie-down, anchor removal and installation. Anyone have any questions of Matt Morgan on this? Can we move this to consensus? Okay. Item 7B, the board will consider approving the calendar committee's recommendation for the 2018-2019 instructional calendar. And we have a brief presentation tonight. Linda, let's see.
Yes, sir. Good evening, President Ogletree, Dr. Hendry, and board members. This evening, I'll be sharing with you, as you said, the district's calendar committee's recommendation for the 2018 and 19 instructional calendar. I'd like to share with you that the committee included teachers, paraprofessionals, campus principals, parents, community members, and district staff members. It was actually a committee of 34 members that worked on this calendar and have a recommendation for you. Some of the members of our committee are here representing the entire group. So I'm going to ask them if they would please stand to be recognized. I know there's several of you out there. I want to thank them for serving on the committee. Some of them have served on it for several years, and they actually go through a lot of information and data to help us establish a great instructional calendar for our kids. Before I walk you through the proposed calendar, I'd like to provide you with a little bit of information, an overview of how we built the calendar. The next slide, please. The Texas Education Code mandates that the required instructional time for students be counted in minutes. You may remember this. Specifically, 75,600 minutes. You may want to take out a calculator now as we talk about the minutes. Our instructional day in Cypher consists of 435 minutes per day. Additionally, districts can use up to 2,100 minutes of waived time for professional development, but that's at 420 minutes a day. Historically in Cypher, we have requested 3 additional days of professional development as waiver days. The change to minutes really was an attempt to provide districts with flexibility in developing an instructional calendar and to address lost instructional time that really was specific to a district. For whatever reason, instructional time was lost. The start of the school year continues to be the 4th Monday in August. And then the law also states that in developing a calendar, a district cannot end school before May 15th. So those are all part of the Texas Education Code. The District Instructional Calendar Committee reviewed all of this information that I just shared with you, and also looked at the standard parameters that we have in Cypher. So additionally, they looked at information that considered or revealed regarding the state assessment calendar, so when this testing actually happened, historical data regarding absences and what those short weeks do. They looked at information from Region 4 and the surrounding districts regarding when their spring break dates are and their start and ending times are as well. Region 4 does a great job of pulling the districts together and looking at when spring break might be, or the holidays, spring holidays might be, or the winter holidays might be, and also input from Lone Star College. All of the committee members that attended the calendar committee meeting supported the calendar that's being proposed to you this evening. And additionally, we met with the District-Wide Educational Improvement Council, the DEIC, and also shared the committee's proposed calendar with them. That committee includes a representative from every single campus, along with community members and business members. They also supported the calendar that we're about to share with you. So we can get the one more thing I'd like to add is that while the instructional days are in minutes for our students, for teachers, they still have to work 187 days per state law. So that's why you see that teachers don't start at the same time that students start. So let's look at the calendar. And you have one at your areas. So again, it's based on 435 instructional minutes per day. You can see that the first day of instruction is August 27th. So that is the fourth Monday in August. That's noted in purple. You'll note that student and staff holidays are noted in blue. So if you look at the Thanksgiving break, a week is provided there again, November 29th through the 23rd. There are 2 full weeks for the winter break, December 24th through January 4th, with students returning back to school on January 7th and teachers on January 4th, and that's a professional development day. Spring break on this calendar is a week of March 11th through the 15th, which is in line with, as I mentioned, Lone Star College and also the surrounding Region 4 school districts. We also look to see what some of the other colleges were doing, but Lone Star College is really are the one we try to align with because of the dual credit courses. But I will tell you that lines up with A&M, Sam Houston, UT is the week after, and Texas State, Mr. Covey, I looked that up for you, is also the week after our spring break. Labor Day, Martin Luther King, and Good Friday are all student and staff holidays, and those are noted in blue. October 8th, January 4th, and February 18th are all professional development days and also student holidays, and those are noted in gold. These are the 3 days that we asked for a waiver that I just mentioned, and that they count for 420 minutes. We also have embedded in the calendar 2 additional days above the requirement of the 75,600 minutes. And these are to be used as inclement weather days. So if we don't need them, then kids actually go to school 844 minutes more than is required. Last year, our kids actually took advantage of that, and we actually had 2 extra days of school. If those are also listed as professional development days. So if we don't need them for weather days, I'm sorry, that's not correct. That's another topic. If you look at February 18th and May 31st, those are listed as inclement weather days. So those are 2 more days if we need an additional day or additional days for inclement weather. So if we don't need them, then they continue to be professional development days for teachers and student holidays for kids. The last day of school is listed as May 30th. And although the instructional calendar is in minutes, just to give you an idea of how many days that is, it is 173 days of instruction that our kids will have at 435 minutes. Now again, because our teachers must work 187 days, that is why you see the additional professional development in August. If you can bring that down, please. You can see that in August, they actually come back 2 weeks before students do. That first week is district professional development, and that second week, they're at their campuses. So that week is to ensure the 187 days, but it also provides the training and staff development that they need right up front. And it also helps reduce the number of days that we have to pull them out during the school year, so that they're in their class with kids, teaching them as much as possible. I'd like to just take a moment to thank again the committee. I'd like to thank Dan McElduff, who actually serves as a co-chair for this committee, and the Curriculum Instruction Accountability Team for pulling together all the data that we use to develop the calendar. So if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Linda. Any questions? All right. Okay, Tom?
Linda, something that you typically always talk about is how many days we have in the fall semester and in the spring semester, particularly the number of days that the students have to be ready for the state mandated testing. And I know that that's typically in the past has always been a component of how the calendar committee would look at breaking the calendar out. Would you comment and bring us up to date on that, please?
I will. I did not bring those exact numbers with me. Dan, I don't know if you have them with you. If not, I can bring it on Monday. But I will tell you that the committee does look at balancing as much as possible the 2 semesters as you mentioned, and that's really the reason why they chose the winter break starting when it did, so that we would have more time with students in the fall as in the spring. The other reason why that continues to be as important, but we've kind of worked through that, is that we now have 4 grading periods. So it's not 6 weeks. It's more, it's closer to the 9 weeks, but it's divided into 4 grading periods to help balance that as much as possible.
Excellent, thank you.
Tom, just to add to that also, we survey and we talk to parents, students, staff members, teachers every year about extending the fall semester past the winter break, and that is overwhelmingly defeated every year. And in all reality, our students would really not get a break at that 2 weeks around Christmas if we extended the semester into January. So that's a reason we don't balance them out totally.
All right. Linda, for the 75,600 minutes of instruction, that is really a state requirement that the district has to fulfill. But a student can be required to go past that, beyond that minute requirement. Is that correct?
That is correct. That 75,600 is a minimum that a campus must offer in instructional minutes. But a district can go beyond that as much as really they would like to. And we do actually go beyond that number.
Also, there's no truth to the rumor that this committee met in its final session in Hawaii. Is that true?
No, we didn't get approval for that, unfortunately.
Okay. I've had a rash of people signing up for committees, and well, good. Thank you all. Y'all did a great job. Very happy with that. We'll now move to item C. 7C, the board will consider approving the first.
Derogatory.
Okay.
Should we pull that out and have it stand alone?
And have another
Have
report?
that stand alone, yes. The calendar.
Okay.
Yeah, how does everybody feel about that? You don't care? Either way's fine. Well, let's leave it like it is.
Okay. It will remain on consensus. Item 7C, the board will consider approving on first reading additions, revisions, or deletions to district policies. 1, BBE local, board members' authority. This is a revision based upon Senate Bill 1566. New text is recommended for this policy to explain that the district shall respond to a board member's request for records within the time frames required by law as described at BBE legal, and also satisfy the new requirement for a policy regarding board member visits to a district campus or other facility. The recommended language requires a board member to follow any posted requirements for visitors and limits visits that interfere with the delivery of instruction or district operations. Any questions to Marnie Collins Sims? Any questions? All right. Well, that can be left on consensus. Move to consensus. We can move that? Okay. Move to consensus. All right. Also, 2, CKC local safety program risk management, emergency plans. This also follows one of the bills, House Bill 332, a requirement to include in the district's emergency operations plans, EOP, a policy addressing security of district property used as a polling place. The policy text refers to these procedures being included in the EOP, as EOPs are not typically board adopted. We leave this on consensus too. 3, FD, local admissions. This is a revision, minor edit to change the reference policy from EI Black to EHDB when recognizing credits earned outside the district. And also 4, GBAA local information access requests for information. This is a revision. House Bill 3107 allows a board to establish reasonable yearly and monthly limits on personnel time spent to produce public information for a requester, after which the district may begin charging the requester for the time. Can all this be left on consensus? All right. 7D, the board will consider approving construction proposals and contracts paid from the 2014 bond funds to the recommended contractor and authorize the superintendent or designee to execute all necessary documents related to such contracts as follows. 1, 2017 Langham Creek High School renovations, and from bond funds, $32,533,000. The Gamma Construction Company. Anyone have any questions of Dylan Brady? Tom.
Dylan, if you would, the information in the board packet identified the contract for the base amount. Briefly review with us the renovations that are in that base amount. Clearly, we could see the additions, but kind of sketch out the big picture of what these renovations in that base amount will cover.
Sure. The major piece to it is a major facelift, if you will, for all the interior finishes, bring it up to new standards of finishes, as well as restrooms, as well as energy code, replacing all the lights with LED high efficiency lights, similar to what we're trying to do across the district as we move forward. Bringing up the fine arts and the CTE classroom and labs up to the new district standards, as well as the culinary arts and athletic areas as well.
And a tangential question, but I am rather tangential. When you said bring things up to the new LED standards, I presume that also covered the renovations that we had at Moore. Moore would also be up to the new lighting standards that we have embraced, as well as the new for Langham Creek, and I guess also Moore, the new standards as required from a technology perspective as we continue to embrace greater and greater use of technology. There is a demand. So are we addressing those needs as well?
To answer it, yes. Both of them will have the LED lights that are dimmable to save both energy, but also higher conducive learning environment, as well as the facilities department has worked closely with Frankie Jackson and her team to make sure that, as well as Linda Macia's team, to make sure that we have the data support for the MDF, IDF rooms for technology, as well as the classroom learning technology.
Excellent, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, should we move this or keep this on action items? What's your pleasure? Move it, all right. Let's move this to consensus. Item 7E, the board will consider approving the use of the local government purchasing cooperative by board contract 476-15 as the construction delivery method for this project, awarding the construction contract to the following contractor and authorize the superintendent or designee to execute all necessary documents related to such contracts as follows. And that'll be 2018 track and football field improvements at Cy Lakes, Cy Park, Cy Ranch, and Cy Woods High Schools project. Bond funds, $6,785.57. Hellas Construction Incorporated. Any questions from Dylan Brady? Yes.
Hey, Dylan, is this the same group that has done the other facilities?
Yes, Hellas is, this would be awarding it to Hellas, who has done the Berry Center, Pridgeon, and all the other high schools as well.
Yeah, those look good, by the way. They look really,
Yeah,
really good. We were at the
Cypress-Fairbanks was awesome.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So, okay, that's all I had. Thanks.
Yeah. Bob?
Just, hey, Dylan, I'm just thinking that people are maybe listening to this and wondering why Cy Park, for an example, which is a relatively new school, is having to have renovations done to the field. Can you kind of explain how we came to this and what we've done so far?
Sure. So this will be the last phase or last round to convert all of our high school competition fields, football, soccer fields, to artificial turf. And so Cy Park being relatively new, that is why it is in the last round of the fields. It also is now, I guess, going on, will be 2.5 years old. And so it's time to start doing the major field maintenance and pieces there, which ultimately is time to start looking at doing this piece to finish out that round.
And the reasoning for going to the artificial turf was?
So there's numerous reasons. The great reason is, as talking with athletic director Ray Zapata even today, is allowing the kids to get out there and play on that field, both for football, soccer, band, as well as recess. After it rains, we're not able to get on these fields for days sometimes with some of the downpours we have, and so it allows for the facilities to get outside and the kids to get outside and utilize these athletic facilities more often than if it was a standard grass field.
If I remember correctly, in Texas State put in the same thing a few years ago, and one of the reasonings behind that too was that it eliminated some of the injuries that we're having on regular fields.
That's exactly right, and we have ran the GMAX testing for every single one of our fields, and they all are at the highest level, and that's one reason we choose to, working with Mr. Zapata and his team, choose this field as one of the highest standards for the safety and performance for our kids.
Okay, thank you.
At Texas State, it didn't really help their record.
It hasn't helped.
But nobody got hurt.
It hasn't helped Texas State football program.
They're all healthy.
Just to add to what Dylan said also, the fields are able to have unlimited use now. So, during football season, the band can use it. The drill team gets to use it. The cheerleaders can use it. In the springtime, baseball teams even use it if they've had rain. So where we used to have to monitor the use of that field, we no longer have to do that. And the reason that we're doing Park, of course, it's the new district standard that we started about 3 years ago, and Park is finally cycling into that. But I think even Coach Pajowski would tell you it made a big difference in December when he didn't have to cancel practices due to rain. So it's already paying off.
Debbie.
I was about to mention the same thing, Dr. Henry, because Ray commented to me at the Cy-Fair celebration, the parade this past Friday, that because I was commenting on how great it all looked, the new field, the turf and all, and he said had they not had that turf, they would not have been able to practice some days before the state playoffs because of the rain we had had.
already paying off.
Dr. Ogletree, I'll just add also that we will see some savings in our maintenance costs of the fields by using the artificial turf compared to a natural turf field, saving on fertilizer and some other labor forces we have to deal with on our current fields.
Okay. All right, consensus? Move to consensus. All right. 7F, the board will consider approving and authorizing the superintendent or designee to enter into the miscellaneous professional service contracts related to the following projects. 1, 2017 Langham Creek High School renovations. This include HVAC testing and balancing services of up to $415,000 and material testing services up to $75,000 from bond funds. And number 2, 2018 track and football field improvements at Cy Lakes, Cy Park, Cy Ranch, Cy Woods High School. Material testing services up to $140,000 from bond funds. Any questions of Dylan Brady? All right, can we move this to consensus? All right. All right, we're at the end of our agenda for tonight. The superintendent's briefing portion of the agenda will be presented on Monday evening. And is there any reason for us to go in closed session? All right, therefore this meeting tonight, Committee of Whole, will be adjourned. We'll see you Monday night.